Black Friday's here, all the offers are live on websites, and you've made up your mind you are buying a 3D printer. But what do you buy with it? Let's go shopping. In one of my previous videos about getting into 3D printing, someone asked in the comments if I could do a video about what to buy with your first 3D printer, all the extras that you might need. So here we go. You got your printer in the cart, but there's a lot of other things on the website. But what do you really need as a beginner? I'm going to use the Bambu Labs website as an example, because that's where I bought mine, and I think a lot of beginners will, because they're very beginner friendly. So let's go through the website. I'm going to point out what I think you need straight away and what can wait until later. So first up, Filament. Yeah, I know, no shit Sherlock, but it needs to be talked about. I've said this in older videos, I'm going to say it again now, stick to PLA as a beginner. It does everything you're going to need, and there's a huge range of it. Not just colour, but there's various finishes. There's matte, there's carbon fibre reinforced, there's silk, there's colour changing, there's even glow in the dark. And you've probably got your first project in mind, so get the colours you need for that, and then stock up on some basic plain ones, like maybe black and white. I think you need at least 4 rolls to get started, but if there's an offer on if you buy more, you might want to stretch a little bit. Okay, on to nozzles and hot ends. If you're looking towards a Bambu Labs entry-level printer like the A1 or the A1 Mini, hot ends are pretty simple. There's no electronics in these, there's no fans, there's no heating element, there's not even any plugs. All the heating and the cooling is done inside the print head of the printer rather than in the actual hot end. So that means these things are pretty cheap. You've got 2 things to think of: how big it is and what it's made of. There are 4 common sizes: 0.2mm, 0.4, 0.6 and 0.8. And what's the difference? You can think of them like paintbrushes. A small one will give you really fine detail, but it takes a while to cover a large area. And a big thick one like 0.6 or 0.8 can print objects really quickly, but it's terrible at the finer details and even text. And a larger nozzle will also make your print stronger, so if that's what you need, look to the 0.6 or 0.8. When it comes to what they're made of, you've got 2 choices: stainless steel or hardened steel. You only need the hardened steel hot ends if you plan on printing with a reinforced material, something that contains carbon fibre or glass fibre. So you might not need these as a beginner, but they're only £1 more, so you may as well, just in case you go that way in the future. But if you're working to a budget, stick with the stainless steel. In fact, you could do without the 0.8. Your printer comes with a 0.4 stainless steel nozzle anyway, so all you really need to do is add the 0.2 and the 0.6mm. But having said that, there are offers on at the moment, so if you buy all 4, you can save about 20% anyway. It might be worth getting the set. Build plates. Not the most exciting thing in the world, but pretty crucial. When a print finishes, you're supposed to wait until everything cools down, but nobody wants to wait when they're new to a hobby. You want to get on with printing your next model. So rather than waiting, I'd find myself flexing the plate, trying to prise the print off. But the trouble with doing that is there's a good chance you're going to pull the coating off your build plate or break your model. That's why I suggest getting more than one build plate. You can have them going in and out in a constant rotation. There's quite a range of these. I've got the standard textured PEI plate, but I've also got one of these smooth plates as well. So that means anything you print on it will have a smooth first layer rather than the usual texture. And if you are shopping on Bambu Labs, they do a plate that's standard texture on one side but smooth on the other. I've got one of each, but that's the one I would go for now. And then there's all the small stuff, the things which don't look particularly important, but if you don't have them when you need them, you can't print. The fun stops. Number 1, filament cutting blades. Now, anytime you load or unload filament, whether that's manually or automatically using an AMS, the filament gets cut so it can be wanged back onto the spool. And what does that cutting is one of these. You've probably noticed your printhead move to a specific place on the printer and then push against a pointy thing. The printhead presses against the pointy thing presses a lever, and the lever pushes this blade through the filament, cutting it off. And if you think over the course of hundreds of prints, this is going to get pretty blunt. And if your printer can't cut the filament, it can't wind it back, it's just going to error. And printing stops until you can get a replacement shipped out to you. So get some now, they're £3 for 3. Every time you start a print, you've probably seen your printhead go in, wobble back and forth over a little rubber pillow thing. Well, that's these. I think they're called nozzle wipers, but they're just rubbery plastic and they do wear out when you've got a hot nozzle rubbing back and forth over them. Again, they're super cheap. Just get a few in your cart. Oh, and if you want to know about these little holders that I've got, this is Gridfinity. I've done a video about this. I'll put a link up here. And one last thing to add to the cart before you check out would be socks. No, not the sort Auntie Mabel gets you at Christmas, but these things, silicone socks. These things wrap around your hot end to insulate it and help keep the temperature more constant, but they are quite easy to rip when you're pulling them off to change your hot end. So again, if you don't have them, the printer's offline, so just get a few in, they're dirt cheap. So that's what I think you should be adding into the cart on Black Friday with your bargain of a printer. You need some filament, you need some hot ends, you need some build plates, and you need all those little knickknacks which help keep the printer running. Now, if I've forgotten a must-have, let us all know down in the comments. If you've found this video useful, drop a like, and if you'd like to see more 3D printing content from me, hit that subscribe button. But for now, that's it. I'll see you next time. Bye!